The Isuzu MUX has become quite a familiar sight on the MotorMatters driveway lately. We've tested most of the range, so I don't have to tell you too much about the MUX itself. But what Isuzu did recently was they decided to add an entry model to the range. And they put the 1.9 litre turbo diesel engine into the MUX instead of the 3 litre that we become used to. So what you do is you end up now getting 110 kilowatts and 350 newton meters of torque instead of 140 and 450, which obviously is going to have an effect. You also get things like you'll see a much plainer, it's still an alloy wheel, but a much plainer wheel. But you know, do you have to have fancy wheels on an SUV like this? I don't think that's a big deal. And you still get nice running boards. You don't get things like keyless entry, which you obviously would get on the upper models, because this is LS spec. Now, LS spec means the base entry spec in the MUX range, and it means you get certain niceties, but you also lose out on a few. But I'm not even going to show you boot space. You know what that's all about. The point of the 1.9 is price. And interestingly, what Isuzu have chosen to do is keep the spec the same as the LS model with a 3 litre engine, but give you the smaller engine. And also, quite interestingly, I think, is the fact that it's a 4x2, not a 4x4. Now, the advantage of that, of course, is you do lose weight. So you're not carrying the bulk and the heft and the weight of a 4x4 system. You've got the 4x2 drivetrain, which also should contribute and help a little bit when it comes to fuel economy. And that's obviously a massive factor to any owner and any buyer these days. So the question always is, the choices are yours. Do you want to save some money and forego a bit of power, a bit of acceleration, and a bit of the oomph that you would get out of the vehicle? Or do you want more power and you pay more money? Well, that's always up to you. But let's check it out on the road. We'll have a look at the inside.
Hello, my name is Michael. I'm the owner of CHANGECARS and the host of the TV show All Things Motoring. I have one mission, and that is to make a difference to the motoring public. Making a difference how? Making sure that you have safe options, making sure that you have knowledge. In that regard, it is my absolute pleasure and privilege to work with Alan Rosenmeyer of MotorMatters. The man with a hat, I'm the man with no hat, he's the man with the knowledge. Thank you for watching.
Out on the open road, well, the MUX, this 1.9 actually feels no different to the 3 litre models under these sort of conditions. It's when you hit an uphill you're going to feel the difference, and definitely in town driving when you're wanting to pull off from a stop street or a robot, you just got to realize there isn't the instant acceleration, the instant torque that you would expect and I'm used to from the 3 litre motor. It definitely is a lot, shall I say, a bit more lax than that one. But that is the difference between the two. You're going to save a bit of fuel along the long run, and of course you're saving 100,000 Rand on the initial purchase price. So that's material to anybody. But inside it's comfortable, it's smooth. The 1.9 is possibly a touch less agricultural even than the old 3 litre motor. It's a much newer turbo diesel engine, a newer generation, so maybe that's a good feature as well. And keep that one in mind. And I think that's worth remembering. LS spec still gives me things like leather trim on the seats. I've got electric adjustment for the driver's seat. I've got a good touch screen which works nicely and links to Android Auto very efficiently and very quickly. So all those things are still there. Just maybe the power factor that isn't. But you know what? If you want to live a more relaxed life, if you're not into racing all the time, and quite honestly, the style of vehicle is not exactly built for racing all the time anyway, so should it matter? I don't know so much. I think I could enjoy quite a relaxed life with an MUX 1.9 instead of a much more powerful vehicle that would cost me a whack more money at the end of the day. But it would be your choice. Looking behind the wheel, you obviously have pretty basic instrumentation, but again, this is a family SUV. Do you need all the fancies? I don't know. But what I want to show you is I reset the trip meter just now for our cruise on the open road. Now this is pure open road cruising, showing 7.7 liters per 100. Around town, because of the lower power, you're going to drive it a touch harder. So I've been showing about the 10 litre per 100 on town driving, pure town driving, not even really freeway. So I'd say that's the highest you're going to get, but that's kind of a figure I think you need to look at and think you may achieve on the car, which is still well within reason. You do get on the LS spec cruise control, which is nice, and thank you for that, Isuzu, but obviously you lose a lot of the ADAS, as they refer to it these days, the advanced driver assistance, like lane keep and lane departure and blind spot warning and things like that. Now those are things just keep in mind, but you have to go up to LSE spec to start getting those, and now you're talking a lot more money. The other interesting thing is you've got a massive 80 litre tank on this vehicle, so you can actually travel, I think, open road, you could do well over 1,000 kilometers on a tank. That's not bad. So you get a basic touch screen. It's a little bit of an old-fashioned one, but I have run it with Android Auto and it does work nicely, and that's what counts. Down below you've got good old-fashioned manual style air conditioning, but it's effective and you can use it as I'm sure you want. And then below there you've got one USB at the front and two for the rear. So that's also something just to keep in mind. Now you come to your gear shift. It's a good old-fashioned 6-speed torque converter. Works nicely, works well, I've got no complaints. And you've even got a hill descent control over there. There is hidden down by this side, which I didn't show you, there is a rear diff lock as well. So just in case you want to do some mild off-roading, you can do that. Now, where you see the fact that this is the base model is just back by the gear lever, you'll see all the blank buttons. And this is something that I noticed in another test car the other day as well. It tells me you're in the base model. But it's about the money, I suppose. But you have got a bit of a soft feel to the dash. You've got stitching on the dash, for example. You've got a dual cubby hole, top and bottom, if this one would open. There you go. So you've got dual cubby holes, which is nice for storage, and you've got a nice armrest with storage under there. So all these things are there, and you know you've got tons of space in the back seat and the boot, and you can of course lift up the rearmost third row of seats if you want 7 on board. Bottom line, what's the price? Well, this one comes in at 722,000 Rand right now for the 1.9. As a comparison, similar spec to the 3 litre is 816. So you can call it 100,000 Rand difference. Now that's a lot of money, and it makes a big difference. But at the end of the day, it is always going to be up to you. Because I've got to just say, pulling off from a robot, for example, you do notice the difference in the lower power of the 1.9 engine. And that's the only time it really mattered to me or made a big difference to me. It's your choice. You've got to decide. For Change Cars and for MotorMatters, I'm Eleanor, and I'll see you next time.